All right, man. First and foremost, I'm going to start off as always, giving all glory and honor to our Lord, our Savior, whose name is, in the Hebrew tongue, Yahweh. The Most High name is Yahweh. And his son's name is Yahweh Shai. That's who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. So all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash, the Holy Spirit. Double honors to our apostles, to the apostles of GMS, our teachers who rule well, all right, who taught us this truth. You know, who the men of the Lord, the men of the Lord, the men that the Lord chose to open our eyes to the truth. See, we're going to get into this history of Tulsa. Well, we're going to go, this was a tour taken through the museum, and I pretty much might have to do a lot of parts of this because it's a lot of photos and stuff taken here. But those men, the apostles of GMS, they've been teaching this stuff for a long time and tying in this history of why things happen, what things happen, and who the people are it happened to. All right. And, you know, you see things on social media, but being there in person is a lot different, you know. So, Lord willing, this is edifying, you know, through the Holy Spirit. And Lord willing, you know, this opens our eyes to turn to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, and realize the offense that we done to the Lord, okay, and what our offenses caused, all right, throughout history, okay, specifically right now dealing with the northern and the southern kingdom. So the first thing I'm going to do, you know what? Let me get this scripture. Okay, Judah and Ephraim was oppressed together. A lot of people, of course, we're going to identify, let me get this real quick. This is Jeremiah 50:33. All right. By the way, I'm Yalak Mara'ah from the Shepherd of Berea camp. Salutations to the Akim of the Shepherds of Berea camp. All right. Fellow priests and laborers of the Shepherds of Berea camp, you know. And this is Jeremiah 50:33. It says, thus saith the Lord of hosts, okay, the Lord of armies, all right. That's one thing we got to realize, too, that God has an embodiment of angels, and they're not them angels that you see in them Catholic churches, okay, them little Cupid white, but they ain't white, and they ain't babies. They are dark, so-called black men, all right, dark-skinned men with beards, powerful, and they're soldiers. All right. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together. So notice how the Lord separates the children of Israel and the children of Judah. Judah represents Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Israel represents the 10 tribes. OK, now me and the me and a few of the brothers, we were doing spiritually. We went to the Native American Museum in New York, and we also went to in Brooklyn. The Native American Museum in New York is off of event. You know, people in New York to check it out. It's actually really good to check out. It's in off of Bowling Green, stop off the 4 line, and then the other museum to check out is the Brooklyn Museum. I believe it was the 2nd or the 3rd floor. They go into the Assyrian history. They go into the Assyrian history. And the reason why I'm saying all of this is because all of this ties in. So now, you know, we're traveling into this is in Tulsa. So a lot of the history is about us. We are the children of Israel, okay? And the history in Tulsa most people focus on is what happens to the so-called blacks. But the history in Tulsa ain't just the so-called blacks. The history in Tulsa is the so-called Native Americans as well. Yes. So this scripture, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go. This is talking about who you identifying as Judah and Israel, because somebody was oppressed together historically over and over and over. All right. Now, we know that they were carried away. If you haven't, check out the Apostles videos. If you see the video on our page, you know, we pretty much we went into the Assyrian. We went to the museum and showed. Excuse me, real quick. We went to the museum and showed, and you know, the history in the Book of Kings. All right. I'm not going to jump around there to go too far. I just want to, you know, just giving a little back trail about it, you know, and it's, you do your research. You do your research. All right. So the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast, and they refused to let them go. All right. Their Redeemer is strong. OK. The Lord of hosts is his name. He shall thoroughly plead their cause, that he may give rest to the land and disquiet the inhabitants of Babylon. So our Redeemer to be brought back is strong, and the Lord of hosts is his name. So who is our Savior is Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua. And to be honest with you, who our oppressor is Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua. But through the apostles of GMS, you know, they brought this home, man. See, most people don't understand why these things happen in history. And they get mad, yeah, gonna be mad at this so-called white man. But you don't understand that you got to be mad at yourself and the things we did, our forefathers did, and repent to the Lord, because that gave room for this so-called white man to rule over us. You see, he didn't just have this superpower or ability to just oppress both sides. And you're going to see. All right. Because check this out. You know, let me go into it. All right. Through the late 1830s, the federal government removed most of the Muskogee Creek Indians, along with some Africans, some tribal members enslaved, from their homelands in Georgia and Alabama over the Trail of Tears. So see who got removed together? See, we got to stop. Israel, man, we got to come together, man. You got to stop acting like this is, bro, we all got our asses kicked. Stop trying to act wiser than another or look down on one another, bro. Bro, we both got removed from out of land. When you get removed from out of a land, you can't be prideful. You know, you can't puff your chest up. You got Jakes out here being demons, you know, trying to act more, not get mad when they knowledge get crushed. Bro, chill out. Your ass got removed from one land to another. So don't be mad at your brother. All right. You got removed from it says most of the Muskogee Creek Indians. Now, these are part of the 5 tribes. Now, when I say 5 tribes, I'm not talking about the, this is amongst this is the 5 tribes that they're talking about is amongst the so-called Native Americans, who is really amongst the 10 tribes. OK, but a lot of, Gad, Reuben, you see, there's a lot of the 10 tribes that came over here. I can't point the finger to say who's who, or, is this Benjamin or this is Levi, but we know these are the Israelites. OK, so, and maybe some brothers can get a more deeper accurate to see who's who. But for the most part, what I can tell you is that these are Hebrew Israelites. Okay, because for one, they were removed together. That's Judah and Ephraim being moved together. Why is the Muskogee Creek Indians? Let me ask you this. All right? Because you had during these times building up the railroads, so-called Chinese, but they wasn't getting moved out of areas. Okay? When do you ever seen Chinatown area? You got Chinatowns everywhere get bombed, you know, get oppressed, you know. You don't see that. All right. It's specifically dealing with these people, and that's a sign. All right. But it says along with the Africans, some tribal members enslaved, right, from their homelands in Georgia. See. All right. In Alabama over the Trail of Tears. Now, we went to an area specifically in Georgia. That's another video. Could go to our page in Shepherds of Berea. Because this hit me hard because, you know, as you traveling with brothers and you seeing these things, you're like, oh, shit, it's all making sense. You know, it's like, you know, because this is it. This is the Trail of Tears. So one of the areas pulled out, you could look it up, research it, Sweetwater Creek. So Sweetwater Creek, a lot of the so-called natives was moved out of Sweetwater Creek. You know what? Let me pull that up real quick. See, saying the same thing that article's saying, right? Now in that museum, right? It says in 1838, federal troops began forcing the native Cherokee tribes. So these are the Cherokee tribes, right, out of Georgia via the Trail of Tears. Their land was then divided into 40-acre lots and distributed through a public lottery in 1845. In 1845, the 40 acres of the land that is now part of Sweetwater Creek State Park was sold for $500 to former Georgia Governor Charles J. So they removed them out, okay, out of Georgia, all right, via the Trail of Tears. Now where did they end up? So what Esau was doing was removing the lands that he liked. The same shit he do now, the same shit y'all see them bombing and fighting over in the Middle East. What you think they doing? You know, they're just doing the same historical takeover and, you know, this is ours. But really, it's the Lord, all right, using them to do that. Okay, but you know why? You know why? Well, we went into it when we went to the Native American Museum because we were bugging the fuck out. All right, yes, we was. Yes, we was. We were marrying our daughters unto them. We were following their ways. We were smoking. We were dressing, the abominable dress styles. Now, we had it lawful. You see some of the tribes was lawful with the fringes and the long coats, but then you had some of them who was, damn near wearing thongs, shaving their damn heads or looking all crazy. Okay, so the point of the matter that I wanted to bring out was that, we went to the Sweetwater Creek and this is what happened. All right. So, we're not making this stuff up. It's history. It's history. So we could pull from there, right? Now, let me just Google something. Let's look at something because we just reading shit, right? Excuse my language. But let's say how far is it from, and I know because it's about 1,100 miles, it from, let's see, Sweetwater Creek. And I believe we went into this in the video, Sweetwater Creek. I'm just doing, because they said Georgia. Now, I know for sure Sweetwater Creek, Georgia, was it? Sweetwater Creek, Georgia, to, we got pushed out to Oklahoma. Why Oklahoma? Because Oklahoma land was jacked the hell up. But they didn't know something that the Lord, 841 miles. So by driving it's 12 hours. Let's do it by walking because that's what happened. So 294 hours. So there's 24 hours in a day. Let me get my calculator in my other phone real quick. Okay. So we got 290 divided by 24. 290 divided by 24. It's about 12 days. 12 days for the 12 tribes. That's crazy. 12 days. 12 days. And I think it says, what, 12 days and 8 hours? 12 days. So it took 12 days. And, again, that's nonstop. All right. This thing is like if somebody was walking straight. Then, you know what I mean? It would be 12 days of a straight walk. You see what I'm saying? Not to mention you need rest, food, you got to cross over waters and people's getting sick. So the Trail of Tears is a book. I don't have it per se, but you know what? This is going to push me to, Lord willing, get passages and things of that nature into it, because I'm starting to see, as going through it, we you see it. So that's Sweetwater Creek. So obviously you heading west. Okay. The Midwest ain't settled in Oklahoma. Okay. Now, mind you, ain't really nothing out there. The weather changes, different weather and everything. So let's go back. All right. So the federal government moved most of the Muskogee Creek Indians from their homelands in Georgia and Alabama over the Trail of Tears to a new Indian territory, present-day Oklahoma. Over the years, the Creek lost land and autonomy through assimilation, the allotment of tribal lands, and the growing influence of non-Indians. Who's the growing influence of non-Indians? All right. Well, you got these damn, watch the movie Killers of the Flower Moon. The growing influence of non-Indians is the so-called whites pushing. Let me get the scripture real quick. Let the scripture speak, and I'll elaborate after. This is Micah 2:1. Woe unto them that devise iniquity and work evil upon the beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. God put it in the power of their hand, but this was all premeditated. The removal, the lands, and all of that, and they coveted fields. See, to covet is to lust after fields. What? Land, and the removal, right? And take them by violence. They didn't. Come on, man. They took them by violence, man, and houses, and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage. So they got influenced, right? What it said. Let me put this on Do Not Disturb real quick. Excuse me. Oh, man. Slovakia. All right. Through the late 1830s, the federal, it says, Slovakia, enslaved from their homelands in Georgia. Yes, the growing influence of non-Indians. Okay. Greenwood Rising sits on a land once held by the Muskogee Creek Nation. We acknowledge and honor this connection. So Greenwood Rising, okay, is where the Black Wall Street was. So you have to think about the relationship. There was a relationship between the so-called Native Americans, so-called Indians, and the so-called Africans. There was a relationship between them. Okay. Now here is a before and after photo. I mean, before and after. I'm not sure if you might be able to. Because now what they do, they got a baseball stadium. You know, this was before, and this is, after the bombing and everything. So this was the bombing. All right, for people who said this shit didn't, this didn't happen. You gotta go, where did that photo come from? Was it AI generated? Come on, get out of here. This is, to be honest with you, that town doesn't even look nothing that busy. But this how active it was. Look at it now. Look at it. Barely looks like, all right, you got a few cars there. But look how it looked there. A lot more people walking up the blocks. You got a lot of cars there. It looked like a lot more cars. And, to kind of get a picture of it, I can't really see because this looks so more busy. And I'm like, wait, where was the town? But, you gotta remember this, things was a lot tighter, smaller. There's not big, tall buildings back then, and there's a lot more people, because being out there just wasn't a lot of people. I was like, but this was the town back then, and Jake, you got this the northern and the southern, Jake is being active, they being lively, just think about it now in neighborhoods where you grow up in Brooklyn and different neighborhoods, maybe Harlem, that areas like back in the day, maybe early 90s, everybody was outside. Jake, not, Jake in their ignorance, maybe playing Scully and, maybe rolling dice and just or listening to music, getting their hair braided outside, girls doing double dutch, jump rope. It was more, Jake is a little lively, outside. Now, you don't really see Jake out, don't be outside like that, Jake be on the internet or in the club. I don't know, man. It just had a different feel. Being there was like, damn, what the hell is everything? But then it hit, I was like, yo, wow, that was, it was a lively spirit during that time. Okay, during this time. But the Lord shut it down. See, well, let me get there when I get there. Let me just finish going through this. It says, what will you be if you stay in the South? Slaves liable to be killed at any time and never treated right. But if you come to Oklahoma, you have equal chances with the white man, free and independent. Now, we're going to go into why this was said, all right? But overall, looking back on it, he was totally wrong, all right? He wasn't going to have an equal opportunity because our equal opportunity didn't depend on the land we was in. Our equal opportunity, all right, is not based upon financial standings. It's dependent upon sin and how the Lord, if the Lord is dealing with us, having grace and mercy upon us, all right? And that's what it is. And really, it was already set up in the book of Daniel for him to have this strong empire, all right? So, that, these is things that came with understanding from having the teachers. This Bible is connected to this reality. Because you will lose your fucking brain to see how we lost, because now you're going to be pushing to try to get it back. But through who? We went into a lesson about building, How did Nehemiah, how did people maybe not know the stories, but our building and knowing the builders, that come from Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahweh Shai. And the only house that we building is the house of David. All right? And it's starting with the men, and you building, right? And then, sisters get into it, and then children. But that's really it. But he said, but if you come to Oklahoma, so this is the reason why we got our asses kicked, man. Because we was not building, all right, officially the house of David during that time. Because who was the credibility going to go to if this town would have thrived to this day? You know, knowing what type of time, you know, our people jumped on to this day. You know, all homosexuality, drug, strippers, all types of shit, tattoos. You had tattoo shops, all types of, just to say, there's thriving businesses over here. Strip clubs, boxing matches, and betting on another Jake fighting another Jake. That's not the envisionment of success for God. All right, that's not it. So we had to get shut down and stopped. Okay. And then we got in the Most High, nigga, restart. He knocked down all that shit. Nigga, rebuild. And see now, people were thinking, oh man, we got to rebuild this thing. You better rebuild it the right way. Because I'm going to knock the Most High, have that shit knocked down. I'm going to show you how he knocked it down too. All right. But it says, but if you come to Oklahoma, you have equal chances with the white man, free and independent. The Greenwood spirit. It says the confluence of native, black, and white people forged the place that we call Oklahoma. These communities often collided and sometimes connected in a land that mirrored the race-based policy and practice that dominated the nation. One thing I would say I could see how the Lord allowed certain things to bubble. The Lord always gives Jake some trinkets. But really, because Judah and Ephraim started to, form a relationship. And that's something, because it says Ephraim shall no longer vex Judah. Like the northern and the southern will bump heads. But since we were both on getting our ass kicked, we worked together. That's how we even really got somewhere. But it couldn't really thrive because, the natives still was doing I'm laughing because I'm thinking about Leonardo DiCaprio in the fucking Killers of the Flower Moon movie. he spazzed out. Oh, it ain't bullshit. That's an inside joke, but because the northern tribes was going off, and so was the Southern Kingdom going off, So anyway, it says, though black Tulsans were confined to the Greenwood district just across the Frisco tracks, they leveraged their wealth and renowned to establish a flourishing community dubbed the Negro Wall Street of America, with an unfaltering spirit of resilience in the face of de jure segregation. This enclave became synonymous with black self-reliance and economic cooperation. All right. And once again, they're saying Negro Wall Street, but it just showed you that the natives was a part of this whole thing. All right. Shaping the land, building the Green District. It says all manner of black men and women built Greenwood brick by brick. The spirit of the community was constructed with blood, sweat, and tears, but also resilience, perseverance, and hope. Freedmen, Civil War veterans, families looking to escape the South and settle out west. That's where the departure was happening. So the Indian Removal Act was a push, and then escaping the South, for hopes of freedom was settling in Oklahoma. So Oklahoma, the Lord, if you could see it, that was the Lord using Esau as a bullhorn to push us this way. Now, one thing I'm going to say spiritual, and you'll see the oil was here. So, you think about the oil in the scriptures, you think about the knowledge. You think about the Lord, my cup runneth over. You think about the Lord blessing us. And it truly was a blessing for a set period of time because it wasn't time, the name of the Lord wasn't being pushed during that time. It wasn't time for us to just thrive and blow up. All right, without having the house of David being built up, without having the name Yahweh by Shem Yahushai, knowing we Hebrew Israelites, So, and it's funny, but we'll get into it. It says freedmen, Civil War veterans, families looking to escape the South and settle out west, and entrepreneurs with high hopes of prosperity all flocked to this land. They settled and they thrived, all with promise of prosperity. All right. So prosperity only comes from following the Lord's statutes and commandments. Just so we know that. Let me get something real quick. All right. This is things that we didn't know we didn't know back then. Some of them people were us, but we discontinued from our heritage. All right. This is Joshua chapter 1, verse 7. Only be thou strong and very courageous, that thou mayest observe to do all the law which Moses my servant commanded thee. Now, we're not able to feel the law perfectly, but to the best of our ability, and understanding that that ability is coming from Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai, moving pieces in the spiritual realm for you to fight, to do that, for you to resist the devil, for you to actually go out and do his laws, preach, and have it even in mind. It says, turn not from it to the right hand or to the left, that thou mayest prosper whithersoever thou goest. So it didn't matter if you was in Oklahoma, Georgia, it doesn't matter. Okay. Now, same way we got kicked out of Georgia was the same way we got kicked out of Israel. And the same way we got kicked out of, the Tulsa area bombed out was the same way we got kicked out of Israel. If you really realizing who these people are getting removed and kicked out, you realize that these are the children of Israel because they got kicked out of Israel from First Kings by Nebuchadnezzar. This is part of the curses that we were going to go through. You see, it literally happened to us already. It's really a story that's being replayed over and over and over and over and over and over, just so you can connect the dots and realize what the hell is going on. You understand? 2 Kings 17:6. For so it was that the children of Israel had sinned against the Lord, which had brought them up out of the land of Egypt. Right. Lord deliver us from out of the land of Egypt, from under the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and had feared other gods, and walked in the statutes of the heathen, right, whom the Lord cast out from before the children of Israel, and of the kings of Israel which they had made. And the children of Israel did secretly those things that were not right, against the Lord their God, and they built high places in all the cities, from the tower of the watchman to the fenced city, and they set them up images and groves in every high hill and under every green tree. So they decorated the town with idols and altars unto other deities. That's like you decorating your city, having buildings, and maybe it may look like certain businesses, but you're decreeing it unto another power. You're not giving it the glory to the Most High. And they set them up images and groves, the Northern Church, they'll set up them big, it's like some poles, totem pole, and they'll have all animals all over it, and every high hill and under every green tree, and they burn incense in all the high places, as did the heathen whom the Lord carried away before them, and wrought wicked things to provoke the Lord. For they serve idols, whereof the Lord had said unto them, ye shall not do this thing. Okay. So it was a lot. It's going into a whole list. Here we go. Verse 22. Until the Lord removed Israel out of his sight, as he said by all his servants, the prophets, so was Israel carried away out of their own land to Assyria unto this day. And literally unto this day, 2024, they're carried out of their land, and they continue to get carried out of different lands. Okay. That was the point I wanted to make. All right. Let's get back into it. Okay. These are one of the barbershops. They got this is inside the museum, by the way. Okay. Okay, this is what I wanted to get into. So, yes, we were oppressed. We did wrong, but the Lord showed a lot of mercy on Jake. And you're going to see how, man. So remember, we were all getting pushed to Oklahoma. So why Oklahoma? Dry land, rocky, not even, can't do no good farming, but it was something else. There was a blessing. OK, and this is what I want. Another thing that was powerful when I read that, like the Lord make a way for you, man. He will. He will. In the verse of everything looking finished for you, he has trinkets stored up. And that's how Yahweh Shah made the gold come out of a fish's mouth. This is known as black gold. So this is gold coming out of the earth, without it being actual, if it makes sense, what I'm trying to say is that the Lord performed a miracle and he will continue to perform a miracle. He performed a miracle with us in our lowest estate. How much more were you coming into the know, and repenting back? We just got to let the Lord work. But this is called black gold makes black wealth. Now, again, this is coming from the so-called negative point of side. But when you understand, there was the natives here, too. And when you watch Killers of the Flower Moon, the whole history was about how they were boiling off of oil. All right. And I'm talking about the so-called Native Americans. OK, so this is called black gold. This point right here says black gold makes black wealth. Tulsa oil boom. So this is the oil booming in Tulsa, which I didn't know. OK, when I seen the movie Killers of the Flower Moon, I realized that, there was oil booming in Osage, but there was also oil booming in Tulsa. OK, so after the major discovery of oil fields in Red Fork in 1901 and Glenpool in 1905, Tulsa became the self-described oil capital of the world. Tulsa produced, refined, and transported this black gold to areas of the Mississippi River, feeding America's fossil fuel and powered economy. The city took flight, and black landowners, remember, they got pushed out there. OK, them acres of land they just gave, here, you could take this, because it to them, it wasn't shit going on. OK, the city took flight. Black landowners and entrepreneurs benefited from the swell of visitors, patrons, and investors. Because why I say watch the Killers of the Flower Moon so you could see why people started to flock to the land. Because the oil was booming. So now people know that, oh, shit, they got money. So let me set up a business here. Let me do this. So now the area becomes popular because they want to eat off the wealth, So you seen so-called white people, Edomites, charge it, hey, they brung photography out there. Hey, let's take a picture. Don't you want this picture? This picture's going to cost you $30. You got people selling more cars out there. You got people, more bankers going to be out there, investors, and because they all want to eat off of that, So, and then you had the major thing, the Edomite devils, the haters who want to take over. And this is what we're going to see. And it happened on both ends. It happened in Tulsa and it happened over in Osage. It happened all over, pretty much. All right. And it's funny, in the Middle East, this is what's happening to this day. Shit, they just was firing off in Iraq and Yemen. All right. Now, these are all the people going to be judged because they all had something to do with touching the children of Israel. We don't give a damn. We ain't picking no sides. Let me say that again. We ain't picking no sides. May the Lord judge all of them that touched his little ones, man. All right. But the Lord is using oil. It's funny, to have them go crazy and fight each other. All right. So it says entrepreneurs benefited from the swell of visitors, patrons, and investors. So Tulsa rapid growth fueled by the oil sector brought people of diverse backgrounds and varying motivations. OK. All right. The city accommodated the demands that came with becoming larger and more cosmopolitan. But for black Tulsans, there would be no such accommodation as the city remained rigidly rigidly segregated. Okay. Oh, it's lucky. And Jake's right here. This is the all-black town. It says Boley, Oklahoma, 1918. Eve out there with the dog. And Jake was looking wealthy, man. Boley, Oklahoma. Look how big the crib is. You know, and they wasn't they was masters of their bedroom, put it as much. That's what I'm trying to say. Business advertisement set up. You know, Jake was doing their thing, man. Check this out. The Negro and Oil, more Oklahoma cases. All right. It says, has the following article. Indians, white men, and black men are being made into millionaires almost overnight in Oklahoma these days. Uncle Sam is acting as treasurer in this fascinating game of getting rich without doing a stroke of work. The money is pouring in a golden stream into the hands of people who a few years ago were as poor as the proverbial small rodent in the sanctuary. The discovery of oil several years ago is the cause of all of this. And already a number of Indians, blacks, and whites are in the millionaire class. With the money still coming in, barrels full, Uncle Sam's part in this is to see that the Indians and the freedmen who own the land get their royalty for the oil taken out. The commissioner of the Indian Affairs, Cato Sells, has direct charge of this get-rich-quick game, as his office looks out for the leasing of the lands belonging to the Indians and freedmen. Let's look up Cato Sells real quick. I didn't get a chance to do that, but let's sit down and look up some of these people who was scamming Jake, and who knows, some probably was helping. Some you wasn't getting the even cut though. You know that, but hey, maybe. Oh, Fort Worth, Texas. You know what's funny about this? Now again, you gotta watch that movie because that dude, when you watch the movie, the guy who was getting over on the Northern Tribe, he was going to Fort Worth, Texas. In Fort Worth, Texas, it is like a 3-hour drive from Oklahoma. I've seen it because Fort Worth, Texas is actually, when you flying into that area, Fort Worth, you either fly to, depending on if you're coming from New York, they make you fly to either Charlotte or Fort Worth. And then from Fort Worth, you take a plane to Oklahoma. I don't know why, but it's not a nonstop flight. But it's at least that way. You have to make one a connecting flight. In the early 1900s, he became a backer of Fort Worth, Native Americans, and more. Cato Sells was a man of many talents and many causes, which included Native Americans, the Democratic Party, Christianity, and Fort Worth. Born in Virginia, Iowa, 1859, grew up without a father, went to Cornell College and read the law before passing the Iowa bar exam, 1880. A staunch Democrat, he was appointed by President Grover Cleveland as an attorney for the Northern District of Iowa. 1894 and 1907, he moved his family to Texas, taking up residence in Claiborne, but Fort Worth became like a second home. He quickly established himself as a lawyer of reputation. Sells was also gifted public speaker. One of the most popular talks was the trial of Christ from a lawyer's standpoint. Maybe this brother could have been a Jake. I don't know. You know, I'm not here to I'm learning as we go on who people are throughout this process. But he say he worked on behalf of because Jake, you know, the government, they're gonna scam you out of it. You know, these are Jake. They looking down on Jake. You know, so he say he worked on behalf of it. I never got a chance to look up the brother. But the key point is that he worked a lot with Gad. This is Gad, man. The northern tribe. They were stationed in Fort Worth. Sells lived in Washington, D.C. for the most of the next 8 years, but whenever he came home, he always found time to visit Fort Worth. He was the town's biggest booster in the nation's capital long before Amon Carter assumed that role. Okay. He turned down the opportunity to run for political office to remain at the head of the Bureau of Indian Affairs. With the coming of Camp Bowie in 1917, he encouraged Oklahoma and Cherokee to enter military service and serve as their advocate with the Army. In March 1918, he toured the camp and spent time with 300 Native Americans, training there, posing for pictures that made it into the newspaper. I don't know. I don't know this guy, you know, his ankle. Whenever he came to Fort Worth City, fathers rolled out the red carpet hosting banquets. He was specially found stock shows where guests was honored. He made large purchases of cattle at the fat stock show for his Native American charges in Oklahoma and lobbied for Fort Worth as a distribution center for the West Oil. Okay. When he left I wonder why he left in 1921. This is around the time of the bombing, too. When he left Indian Bureau in April 1921, he and Miss Sells returned to Cleburne and sold their home and moved to Fort Worth. He remained active in the Democratic Party in the years that followed, and a spokesman for Texas on the national scene until his death in 1948. He donated. Okay. Well, nevertheless, the article was saying that he assisted in making sure they got their royalties. It says the freedmen mentioned were Negro slaves held by Creek Indians until they were freed by the Civil War. Okay, it says and now I wanted to mention that as well. You know, if they were underneath, because it says the freedmen mentioned were Negro slaves held by the Creek Indians until they were freed by the Civil War. They're making it seem like the Indians had some jakes in a captivity or working as slavery, which if they did, it wasn't the slavery that we was underneath the so-called white man. Maybe they purchased them from the so-called white man as a way of freedom, but they still own it, own in an essence, but, not on no shit that they were doing to us, because, it says were Negro slaves held by Creek Indians, so you would think that, oh shit, okay, damn, they were violating us too. But you don't know if that was a way of liberating. It's like, no, I'm gonna take care of him. I'm gonna have him as my slave, but it's your family member, stuff like that. Not, But these are Hebrew Israelites. Okay, it said they were freed by the Civil War. Later, a treaty was made between the United States and the Creek Indians, whereby slaves belonging to the Creeks and their descendants were given an equal share with their former owners on a government allotment of the old Creek lands in the Indian Territory. It says this is how Danny Tucker. Okay, so Danny Tucker. Look up Danny Tucker real quick. Okay, it's not coming up in. What language is this? Slacky, I was just trying to find these, see if there was an article. Nevertheless, I'll keep reading. This is how Danny Tucker, a 10-year-old Negro boy, came into possession of 160 acres of land, which has produced and is producing as much oil as any other similar area of ground in the United States, if not in the whole world. The 160 acres of land were allotted to him in 1906 for farm purposes. It is rock and hilly, no 10 acres slanting the same way, and is virtually unfit for farming. So that's why they were giving us land over there. Like, it was unfit for farming. I'm going to just give y'all some bum-ass land. And the reason why he got the land really was because, again, the Creeks, the so-called natives that possessed the land, when they got removed over there, that owns slaves, they were being pretty much, when the end of the slavery happened, they was just being treated fair by giving that land. Okay, the freedmen. Okay, so the 160 acres were allotted to him in 1906 for farm purposes. It is a rock and hilly, no 10-acre slant in the same way, and virtually unfit for farming. 2 years ago, one of the big oil companies obtained a lease on allotment. Okay, so they got a lease, okay, on the land, with the result that apparently worthless land had become one of the richest spots of Oklahoma. At first, Danny received $200 a month in royalties. In March last, it had jumped to $6,000 a month, and now it is $6,750 a month, and still going up. The production of oil on the land, owned by the little Negro now, amounts to $2,400 of barrels daily. The wells completely give promise of a long life, and if they do keep up, it will not be long before it will be utterly impossible for Danny to count his money. Although the colored boy is a prospective millionaire, he is paying little attention to anything but the feeding of his chickens and pigs on his father's farm. Even when making all the money, he didn't know, he's a 10-year-old, 10-year-old on his father's farm. This is what he's receiving, just came out of slave, is uneducated. So, but these are the amounts they saying was being paid out. Okay, nevertheless, It's needless to add that a white man has been made Danny Tucker's guardian. Fucking devils, boy. This was a excerpt from a Crisis magazine, September 1914. This article from the NAACP's magazine describes the wealth created by Oklahoma's booming oil industry. So this was a new. So when I'm reading, they talking about in 1914. Okay, that's why they saying today. All right. All right. So Maccabee. Okay, Maccabee. Funny, the Maccabees, but Maccabee. We heard a little bit of what he said about moving to Oklahoma. This brother right here was like, pretty much pushing people to come this direction. So his name was Edward P. Maccabee. Was a business and attorney who became known as the father of the all black towns movement. Okay. It says key boosters included statesmen and business leader Booker T. Washington and Edward P. Maccabee, a lawyer, businessman, and political figure. Washington, Maccabee, and others encouraged the settlement of these communities in Oklahoma to provide black places and spaces with economic opportunity without political oppression. These men provided early support and funding, and in Oklahoma, they built more than 50 all-black towns. Wow. Maccabee even lobbied the federal government to carve out an all-black state within Oklahoma. So it's funny, as brothers, we was building about. So did once again, it's spiritual, what they were trying to do. It wasn't through the house of David, through Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, but they were on point for who they were doing it to, because these is the children of Israel, But it wasn't, when you go into the buildings of, we was talking about Nehemiah and Zerubbabel, okay, even during the time of Paul and being a master builder, we need to build it up spiritually, okay? But there was a physical process of being built up where they were talking to the rulers and the leaders during the time of the Medo-Persian Empire, King Cyrus, even from the form of Esther talking to Xerxes, and even the time of in First Esdras, Zerubbabel talking to winning, through a speech, through a poem, through a pitch, to move King Cyrus, or was it Darius? I think Cyrus, to provide resources. And Nehemiah, coming in, he was a wine pourer. He came in to move them, to give them resources to build the wall. So Zerubbabel's focused on building the temple, while Nehemiah is, focused on building the walls outside. And all of this was Jake working together during the time period to build. And so these brothers was doing the same thing right here. I just found that very spiritual. This brother his name was Maccabee. When you think about Maccabees, you think about, it's not spelled the same way, of course, but, if you read it, it says Maccabee, it reminded me of Maccabee, and the Maccabees, they were pretty much trying to build Jake back up, fighting, to rebuild the sanctuary that was torn down by the heathen. All right. And so they were doing the same thing, man, trying to carve out all black state within Oklahoma. But it's not just black, it is Hebrew Israelites. But, of course, that was the terminology used. All right. But this brother name was Edward P. Maccabee. So let's actually Edward P. Maccabee. Well, now this is a Jake. All right. I don't know if y'all can First of all, he's a Jake about how he was doing it, moving. But you're gonna have Jakes that's in higher positions and places that you may feel is not suitable style to you. The brother is not gonna be rough bearded and stuff like that. But the brother's a powerful brother because he's making and shaking things so resources and certain things could happen. And then this brother, check this out. Let's go into some history about Edwin, also known as, Edward, also known as Edwin P. Maccabee. Okay. Real quick. This was behind the name. It reminds me of the word Maccabee. Son of Kaba. Scottish. Irish word cap or helmet. To me, it sounds like this, Maccabee. The word hammer. Okay, this was I forgot that the word meant hammer. But what is a hammer used for? To build. Hey, that's spiritual, What is a hammer used for? A hammer is used to build. Also a judge, judge got the hammer, But, when you think about building, you think about building with a hammer, hammering to build, hammering the nails to put things together, Also the judgment with the hammer, Let me get into real quick symbolisms of hammer. Justice and revenge. The idea of force, impact. Yeah, so to revenge, to strike, to the power of creation. Right? The idea, the force of power. If a person's using a hammer to forcefully drive a point or idea. And that brother was trying to drive a point or idea, That goes with his name or Maccabee, because he was trying to drive a point idea that we need this area built. We need an area for ourselves, man, not amongst these damn devils, But he just missed the foundation of it, okay? But it wasn't time. And that brother's got to be back. I just, the brother had a right narrative. The motive in a sense, but let's go into it. It says it was a settler, attorney, and a land agent. Okay, this is a land agent who became one of the first African Americans to hold a political office in America Old West, a Republican office holder in Kansas. Maccabee became a leading figure in an effort to stimulate a black migration into what was then the territory of Oklahoma, with the hopes of creating a majority black state that would be free of the white domination that was prevalent throughout the southern United States. So the brother had a right, that would be free of white domination that was prevalent throughout the southern United States. In pursuit of this goal, Maccabee founded the city of Langston, Oklahoma. So check that out. He was born in Troy, New York. His brother was from New York. On October 10th, 1850, as a child, he moved to Falls River, Massachusetts, Newport, Rhode Island, and Bangor, Maine. His brother was everywhere. When his father died, he left school and began to work. Eventually, he moved to New York City. This brother was moving in New York City, where he worked on Wall Street, finding no avenues for promotion beyond a clerk and porter in New York. He said, I got to get the fuck out of New York, man. He then moved to Chicago, where he worked as a clerk for Potter Palmer. He was then appointed clerk in the Cook County, Illinois office of United States Treasury Department. Meanwhile, proposals were already being made at least by 1866 to use the land that is now Oklahoma as, as a settlement area for African Americans. It's funny that was a key area. I don't even, it's spiritual because it's oil then, bro. Like the Lord was just setting it up like, yeah, I know I kicked your ass. I know I allowed them, but I'm going to give you trinkets. But then after they kicked the ass again, but it just, it's crazy, It says settlement area for African American. In that year, U.S. Representative William Lawrence, an Ohio Republican, introduced a bill creating the territory of Lincoln from that land. This is not to be confused with the state of Lincoln proposal made in 1869 for southern Texas, nor the Lincoln proposed for the Pacific Northwest. Lawrence reintroduced the bill in 1867. The proposal was that all territorial officers and voters would initially be American citizens of African descent, and the territorial legislator could later choose to change eligibility. Neither bill got out of committee, but the seeds of the idea were planted. So the bill didn't get out, but the idea was planted. Maccabee traveled to Nicodemus. Who is this brother? His brother Nicodemus. Nicodemus, Kansas. His brother went to Nicodemus, Kansas. Maccabee going to Nicodemus, Kansas. At 1878, where he was an attorney and a land agent. After 2 years of residing in Nicodemus, he was appointed county clerk of the not long established Graham County. In the next fall, he was elected to a full term as county clerk at the age 32. But 32 was elected Kansas state auditor and became the highest ranking African-American office holder outside of the Reconstruction South. That said that Judah shall be in the neck of the enemies. I mean, these brothers was in the office. He served 2 years as the state auditor and failed to win a third nomination. He then moved to Washington, D.C., where he fruitlessly lobbied for an appointed governor. And then now this is starting to make sense. All right. For an appointed for governor in the Oklahoma territory, because them natives they was pushing to go to Washington. This brother had connections in Washington and he was connected. Then he would have a connection with Oklahoma because they needed to get the Uncle Sam to give them money. See, I was, they showing you these other people. Like I know they said the guy, Cal Sells, well, I wasn't sure maybe if he was Jake or Edomite. He looked like an Edomite, but, you never know. But the point of the matter is that now it makes more sense on, these were brothers that was inside pulling for payments to happen because they were in this offices. They was in the neck. All right. It says, even though he was not appointed, he moved to the Oklahoma territory in 1890, still looking to make a difference. So even though he wasn't appointed, he said, fuck it, I'm going to go out there anyway. He was soon appointed the first treasurer of Logan County, Oklahoma. So the brother had faith. He went out there anyway. And then he got appointed. Maccabee was also one of the 3 founders of Langston City. By 1881, several Negro leaders were planning for the potential resettlement of 20 or 30,000 freedmen in Oklahoma. Maccabee acquired 320 acres. Check this brother out, bro. His brother, track near, brother's gonna laugh, Guthrie, Oklahoma, which became the town of Langston about 1892. So he turned the Gunther town into Langston, man. Right? 320 acres. The city was an all-black area 10 miles northeast of Guthrie, the city was named John Mercer Langston, a black Virginia congressman, wow, who pledged his support for a black college in Langston City, Taylor. Finally, in 1897, a colored agricultural and normal school was opened. This later was called Langston University. Right. See, again, the foundation, and the names, everything had to go back to the house. It was about the building the house of David, about putting that name Yahweh Hashem Yahushua on the people. So, but these, they did what they did with the knowledge that they had, but they nevertheless was pulling for their people. I mean, look at the brother's whole life story. It was about a mission. He could have settled down in New York and just stayed there and had a family, but the brother had a mission. You got people that were designed for missions. The city was founded on the idea to help stop racial persecution. It was part of the program to create more than 25 new black settlements within the Oklahoma Indian Territory. That's what he was doing. But at the same time, they sent Oklahoma Indian Territory, as if they were warring and fighting over Gad. It wasn't a war fight over Gad. All right. How did that become the Indian Territory? They got moved out their land too. We just read it earlier. So we're not going to sit here and think Gad or the Northern tribe was the problem. We was both getting our ass kicked. All right. It says it was part of the program to create more than 25 new black settlements within the Oklahoma Indian Territory. Maccabee then embarked on an ambitious adventure in the state building using Langston as a nucleus. He encouraged the immigration of Negroes in such numbers that eventually they would outnumber the whites. Check that out. So if it was an Indian territory, why I say outnumber the whites? You see, the word, you got Esau is a damn devil sometimes. Yeah, the Indian territory, because the Indians, they was in the way. But then now I just said that to outnumber the whites. So I thought it was Indian territory. No. They moved Gad there. They said that this would be their territory, but you had them damn, you watch Killers of the Flower Moon. They were flocking over there, man. All right, so they now outnumbered the whites. Now, Esau is big when, his people was being outnumbered, okay? In 1892, he spent far as to predict that within a few years, Congress would have 2 Negro senators from Oklahoma. He planned to organize Negro settlers so that he could muster a majority of black voters in each representative. And his brother was trying to box them the fuck out. He had this shit planned. He had this shit planned like, yo, we gonna do this shit ourselves. All right. So in senatorial district of the proposed state, Maccabee supported the idea of making Oklahoma into an all-black state and wanted to help with the efforts of the idea. Let me skip through. The black population of Oklahoma continued to grow until the statehood in 1907. Between 1900 and 1906, the black population at least doubled. Black Oklahomans owned fairly large farms, even controlled the whole towns, and were behaving in a manner directly contrary to the hopes and expectations of the whites. See? The Lord started to bless Jake. But and because we were working together and pulling together. But once again, it just wasn't the full time because we didn't have the full, it just wasn't time. And even in this time, it's gonna be a Jacob's trouble, when Jake start to come together and really, build how we build them with the strong foundation, But the Lord warned us of it, but the Lord said he's going to deliver us out of it. Past 1900, large numbers of Negroes began moving from the south and east section to the interior part of the state. They left farming in the Oklahoma coal mines and took urban service jobs. Okay. Despite these gains, black majority were not realized in Oklahoma, nor was Maccabee able to secure any high political office. Even though this never happened, Maccabee played a big role in taking a stand for African-American rights in a time where there was a great deal of racial persecution. He died in March 12th, 1920 in Chicago, Illinois, and was buried in Topeka, Kansas. Look at this brother. Brother Jake Peculiar. This had to be a Jake, man. I just don't see this not being a Jake. Trying to find more photos of the brother, but I just cannot. I can't see this not being a Jake at all. Jake, you had a lot of mixing during the time, but the seed of the father. But the way this brother, the name and Nicodemus and all of this, man, that brother, the way how he was on fire, no way. No way. No way. But anyway, like I said, I gotta do a part 2. Check this out. All black towns in Oklahoma. This map shows 46 all black towns in Oklahoma, 14 of which still exist today. Towns that remain, towns that are no longer inhabited. See, so we got Langston. Let's see. Towns that remain incorporated. So they still remain incorporated. Look, Zion, but that's not there no more. Macedonia, that's not there no more. A lot of these towns is not there no more. Sanders, a lot of them is not there. And these are all over Oklahoma. But 14, they said 14 remain. Bowley, we looked at the pictures of people in Bowley. We had a few Jakes that were doing well in Bowley. Grayson, I believe that's where the oil field is. When I was out there, they mentioned Grayson. Tallahassee, Redbird, Summit, Vernon. Right. So that's it for that. I'm gonna check this out. Look at these brothers, man. These were some Jakes out there, man. So man, these Jakes were serious, man. Lawyer B.C. Franklin was a key figure in the early settlements of Tulsa. He is pictured here far right in front of the law office in Ardmore, Oklahoma in 1910. Collection of the Smithsonian Natural Museum of African History. Okay. A brother in the far right. All right. And brother got the pipe in his mouth. Jake, Jake was fighting, but, we were in our ignorance too at the same time. Some were digging deep, into the book and the Bible and stuff, but, we were still going off. We were still going off. This is his papers. Check this out. This was a packet belonging to B.C. Franklin, a Greenwood district founder, includes family history and certifies his status as a Choctaw freedman. It demonstrates the extent to which the social construct of race affects our identity, past and present. So this brother had a Choctaw nations of freedmen. Okay. And the Choctaw Nation, I believe going back to the Muskogee Indian. Let's go on Choctaw. Okay, Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma is a Native American territory covering, a lot of acres, occupying portions of southeastern Oklahoma, United States. The Choctaw Nation is third largest federally recognized tribe in the United States. Okay, so the one was under the Okogie. This is under Choctaw. And you know what's funny? I did see a lot of Choctaw Nation. I've seen a few Choctaw Nation plates. Okay. Fierce warriors. This had to be fierce warriors, excellent farmers, and skilled traders. Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma was formed by over 13,000 Choctaw people who were removed from their homeland during the Trail of Tears. All right, so that's why they was given that land. Okay. All right. From Alabama and Mississippi. Their language is a Western Muskegean language. Push Mataha. Okay. So he had free Choctaw Nation Freedmen vote. Department of Interior Commission to the 5 civilized tribes in the matter of the allotment of the lands of the Choctaw and Chickasaw Nation. To the enrollment clerk, Choctaw Land Office, you are hereby notified that a citizenship certificate has this day been issued at the Choctaw Land Office, whose name upon the roll of the Choctaw Freeman approved by the secretary. Walter Franklin, I'm 68. I'm a Choctaw freedman. My wife, Millie, deceased, now was owned by Peter Young, a Choctaw. Okay. My friend who's owned by. I just want to see if this is saying this a Gadite, a Northern tribe or. Okay. This definitely was a Northern tribe brother. That brother, that brother face. All right, so yeah, like we were saying, like we were saying through the Holy Spirit, when God got moved over there, if they did own some of the southern tribes, it wasn't the way how when you see slavery, it was being that it could have been used as a tool to free, because they went through a bondage themselves, understand. They know who the devil was, so it's like, well, all right, I could purchase you as a slave, and hey, you could be in this land right here. You still work and, helping me out, but you know what I mean? Like, you're going to remain here. You know what I'm saying? You don't got to, it's either you could be part of me or you could get your ass kicked by them, so, more or less it's just saying, okay, I do belong to somebody. I belong to them right there. So, you know what I mean? I'm captive to this family right here. But this family right here ain't going to be doing what that family right there is doing, That wasn't, when you watch Killers of the they wasn't, that's what the problem was with our people. We was meant to be open and, helping one another out, but not to our enemies, man. But this is who he said his wife was owned by. Peter Pitchlin. He was a politician. He helped reestablish the Choctaw Nation west of Mississippi and established a national school system. During frequent missions to Washington, D.C., he pushed Choctaw claims with the federal government and advocated settlement on behalf of Choctaw. So he was getting settlement. Yeah, the Judah and in the north and Ephraim were both. They were all, they were pulling. The Civil War forced him to return to his mountain, fork home, and sacrifice his pro-Union sympathies to protect his family and career. The war made him fall back. A compromised candidate, he was elected chief on 1864, signed an armistice 1865 at Dokesville. He also assisted with peace treaty with the United States 1866, which they didn't respect. He returned to Washington as a Choctaw delegate. Okay. While he pushed the net proceeded case for claims, he also espoused other issues that gained him support in the nation, especially among the full-bloods. He vigorously and effectively opposed any threat to common ownership of tribal lands or Choctaw autonomy. You know them devils trying to take over. He opposed the land allotment efforts of the federal government and the territorial bills advocated by the railroads and other land seekers. He didn't like the lands being allotted to others that he was saying that was theirs. Although some of that land allotment became Jake, the Southern Kingdom, but you also had Edomites that was there. Okay, that's why it says that we just read that now we became more popular. So you had whites that was there that wasn't full bloods. We got to watch Killers of the Flower Moon. There's a lot of shit going on. Esau's a damn devil, man. When that scripture, he sowed his wheat among the devil came and sowed wheat. Sowed tares amongst the wheat. Yeah, this is what he was trying to. He was like, nah, there's some bullshit going on. I don't like this land allotment shit, because this belonged to the full bloods, which the full blood, we talking about the full nationality. The mixed blood wasn't even a nationality, because what happened, let me get this real quick, just to make that point. Like I said, I'm gonna do a part 2, or a continuation. It's a lot, but it's good history. Numbers 1:18, they assembled all the congregations together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees, right, their lineage, after their families by the house of who? Their fathers. So you had these devils coming in the area, popping the females, and still taking over lands. And then, the land allotment, they winning over land. You know what I'm saying? Then some of this, the Southern Kingdom that was deemed as slaves under them, they got land as well. All right. But he was fighting for the full bloods to pretty much, his people, because they got their ass kicked. I don't necessarily think he was fighting against Jake from getting the land, the Southern Kingdom, so-called blacks. But you had a lot of whites that was getting it. And when we watch Killers of the Flower Moon, you see that as well. All right. According to the number of the names from 20 years old and upward by their polls. Okay. Right. He says bills advocated in the territorial bills advocated by the railroads. Esau building on these railroads, which I just seen an article about that, and other land seekers. Who's the land seekers, man? We come on. Pitch Lynn died at his Washington home in January 17th, 1881. Was buried in the Congregational cemetery. Excuse me. So check that out. So we think that brother, they all doing the same work. So this brother whose wife was held, okay, they were all doing the same work. His brother had a lot of children. Matthew, Buck, David, Fisher, Lydia. All right. Lord's will, you know what? I'm gonna pause it right here. And I'll I'll continue it as a part 2. You know what? I'll do that. I'll continue as a part 2. All right. Till the next time, I'll say shalom.